Welcome to the Dubuque Metropolitan Area Solid Waste Agency's landfill, which opened in 1976. About 145,000 tons of garbage are managed here each year, coming from Dubuque and Delaware counties in Iowa and from Illinois and Wisconsin. When vehicles arrive, they come through the gate and are weighed on the scale. They proceed to dump their load in the landfill area, and on the way out, they're weighed again. Then they're charged for the amount of material buried in the landfill. In addition to landfilling, we offer drop-off areas for many items to be recycled. We have recycled containers for household recyclables, metal, and glass. We also have drop-off recycling for appliances, tires, electronics, and household hazardous waste. In the past, the landfill was located by the Wisconsin Bridge. In 1976, the federal government mandated that landfills must operate as a sanitary landfill, which means waste must be buried in a manner that protects the groundwater. Before any trash is put in a landfill, engineers design the space to build the landfill out of trash, similar to how a building is built from metal and wood. Here at the landfill, we take care of your trash. When you put your garbage out at the curb or put it in a dumpster, it doesn't just go away. Vehicles come and pick it up or empty that dumpster and bring it here. The vehicle gets weighed on the scale, offload their garbage, and get weighed again on their way out. Someone, maybe your parents or landlord, is paying to remove the trash. It's not free and it doesn't just go away. The small loads drop-off is where people with small vehicles or trailers offload their trash, so they don't have to go down with the big trucks. When you look into the containers, you can get an idea of the kinds of materials that are brought here to be buried. In 2017, we had a team of people travel around the state and visit 10 landfills. They randomly pulled vehicles and dumped their loads in a shed. They sorted the trash into different piles according to what it was. The categories included numbers 1 through 7 plastics, office paper, cardboard, glass, organics, and more. In all, there were about 70 different piles. The result from the study indicated that 25% of the materials coming in to be buried is paper, and about 18% is plastic. Many paper and plastic materials should be recycled rather than landfilled. The biggest surprise was that about 30% of the landfilled materials is organic, which includes food, diapers, clothing, and shoes. But putting that aside and sticking strictly with food waste, we're talking 28%. 28% of what's coming into the landfill is food waste, and that's pretty wasteful. That's one big place we can all improve. With this, it's important to think about what we're putting in the trash and how we can sort it beforehand. If something comes in a truck to the landfill, we don't sort it or pick it out for recycling. It gets buried unless it's something that's been banned from being buried in Iowa landfills. By the chart, you can see about half of the materials that come in to be buried at the landfill could have been recycled or composted, making the landfill last much longer and conserving all those natural resources by making the stuff we use. Household hazardous chemicals like paint, oil, lawn chemicals, and many common household cleaners can contaminate the groundwater, which is why they should not be mixed with the trash. One safe disposal option is offered for these hazardous materials here at our regional collection center. Our employees are trained to handle these items. They wear protective equipment and sort everything into the proper waste streams. There are different containers for lawn chemicals, aerosol cans, paint, and varnishes. Once everything is sorted and packed, a private contractor comes to collect these items for proper processing. That means they're recycled, incinerated, or sent to a landfill specifically designed to handle those items. Our board of directors made the decision to ban electronics from being buried in the landfill for several reasons. One issue is space. If you think about all the electronics in your house and how often you get new ones, that's a lot of equipment and space taken up. The more important reason is the high value of natural resources in electronics, such as gold and copper, which shouldn't be put in the landfill. We want you to bring them in and drop them off. Whether it's a small cell phone or a big TV, some items have a fee, but most are accepted for free. As we said earlier, we don't sort through the trash unless it's materials banned from Iowa landfills. These include appliances, tires, and yard waste. We collect appliances for recycling for a fee. Some appliances have hazardous materials in them that need to be taken out, so it's very important they don't get buried in the landfill. Tires are also banned from being buried whole in landfills. That's because they're very difficult to manage and bury alongside of the trash. Instead, they're recycled for a fee. The tires are picked up by a company and shredded into tiny pieces. We use tire chips as the top layer of our landfill liner system. We're standing on a landfill created in 1976. There are 180 feet of trash in this hill. That's almost as tall as an 18-story building. Our main job as a sanitary landfill is to protect the groundwater, so we work with the Department of Natural Resources on everything we do. They approve the plans on where we're going to put the trash, as well as any kind of operation we do here. Before we put any trash into a new space, we work with our engineers to determine where the groundwater is. We then start to build our liner system above that. It's made of several different layers of clay, sand, gravel, plastic, and fabric. On top of that, we've been using tire chips as a final protective layer. That liner system is about 6 feet thick, and it's designed to keep the trash away from the groundwater. Part of the liner system is a leachate collection system, which is a pipe with holes in it at the bottom of the liner system. When it rains or the snow melts, the water goes through the trash and into the leachate collection pipe. It then travels to the City of Dubuque Water Resource Recovery Plant, the very same place that handles the water from flushing toilets and sinks in Dubuque. In addition to the liner system, we also have a groundwater monitoring system made up of wells that we check regularly for contaminants. We also have a methane gas collection system. These wells go down into the garbage, and holes in the side of the pipe allow methane to be collected. Methane is formed when things decompose without oxygen. This is called anaerobic decomposition. In a landfill, materials come in and get dumped. Then our operators move things around based on the plan designed by the engineers, and it all gets smashed down. This is done with a very heavy machine called a compactor. The process is to make as much room in the landfill as possible. At the end of the day, 6 inches of dirt is placed on top of the trash to hold it in place and keep out animals. In that process, and with all the compaction of materials, there's very little oxygen left. Any decomposition that takes place with all that food waste is done by creatures living without oxygen. They create methane gas in the same way you or I create carbon dioxide when we eat and breathe. Methane is a greenhouse gas that contributes to climate change and is very strong compared to carbon dioxide. To prevent that from going into the atmosphere, we have collection pipes going down into the trash. Along with the liner system at the bottom of the landfill, there's a cap to top the trash. A landfill cell is similar to a food storage container with the liner system on the bottom and the plastic lid on the top with very little oxygen inside. There's also very little liquid getting in once everything is sealed up, so all of the decomposition going on is anaerobic, which again creates methane gas. The methane collection system includes vertical pipes going down into the trash and a vertical pipe that leads to a processing plant, which we'll visit later. The gray layer you can see is the very top layer of the liner system, and it's made up of tire chips from the tires we collect. It's there to protect and buffer the rest of the liner system. So if construction materials or other sharp objects come in to be buried, they won't puncture the rest of the liner system. One of the more common, hard-to-manage items we deal with at the landfill is plastic bags. As you look around, you'll see them everywhere. When you put them in the trash, they go into the truck, come to the landfill, and as our operators move trash around, the wind picks them up and they go everywhere. We have teams of people to pick up the litter, but it doesn't take long for the wind to pick up and scatter those plastic bags again. What can you do to reduce the number of plastic bags you use? A good start is to take your own bag with you when you're out shopping, or refuse a bag if you only have a few items. When you do get plastic bags, instead of throwing them away, collect them at home and bring them back to the store for recycling. There are often containers at the entrances of grocery stores for these bags. By managing these materials separately from other recyclables, the store is able to bale them up and send them off to be recycled into many items, including park benches. The pond you see is one of 3 stormwater retention ponds on site. When it rains, the stormwater runs into these ponds and any contaminants settle to the bottom before the water goes into other surface water. We have a stream that runs through the landfill that we protect through responsible management of the trash. Our ponds are tested regularly for water quality, and the results have led to the Iowa Department of Natural Resources stocking our ponds with bass, catfish, and bluegill. The fish attract turtles, great blue heron, and eagles to the area to increase the biodiversity on property. Managing garbage requires the use of land previously used as habitat for many creatures. For example, we had to take out trees in order to handle the materials that you and I send here. We conserve as much natural habitat as possible and fund habitat restoration through our grant program. There are a lot of critters that live here. Deer, turkeys, eagles, duck, and geese nest here. We see fox, raccoons, squirrels, rabbits, a lot of wildlife that we try to provide habitat for. We offer a reduced rate to recycle brick, stone, and concrete. People can bring those materials here as long as there isn't any garbage mixed in. We stockpile it and then ground it up to be used on our roads. We collect glass containers for recycling in the purple containers located throughout the community. It's stockpiled and sent to a processor where it's made into insulation and new glass bottles. This is the compost area, where we process yard waste, Christmas trees, and some food scraps. It's shredded into smaller pieces and put into a different pile, which is turned a couple of times a year to add oxygen to it. Creatures that require oxygen are eating the materials in this area. The process is called aerobic decomposition and does not produce methane. Yard waste is banned from being buried in Iowa landfills, so it's composted into a usable product instead. Landfill gas is pulled out of the buried trash through a network of underground piping and wells by the vacuum applied to the front end of the processing facility. The gas is then pushed through a series of filters, chillers, and media-filled drives to remove contaminants such as moisture, sulfur, chlorine, and other volatile organic compounds, including siloxides. Additional water is removed and cleaning is done before it enters the membranes to remove the carbon dioxide, leaving pure methane for delivery to the natural gas pipeline. This is then sent out through underground pipes to homes and businesses for heating and other purposes. Thank you for joining us at the landfill. We hope you've learned that your trash just doesn't go away, but goes to a landfill where we properly manage it by building hills. There's so much we can do to reduce the amount of trash coming in. Think about how you can reduce the amount of trash that goes into your garbage, whether that means recycling, reusing it in some way, or the biggest thing, let's reduce the amount of trash we produce to start with. Let's think about whether we really need the things that we are buying, and if we do, think about the packaging that it comes in and how it can be recycled instead of putting it in the trash. Buying in bulk can help reduce the amount of packaging. Eating what you take or maybe sharing a meal can help cut down on food waste. When you go out to eat, take leftovers home with you instead of letting it go to waste. We can also compost at home, which is a natural recycling process to help grow your own garden. Think about how you can cut down on the amount of plastic bags you use. All of these are easy to do.